Just because I'm a little closer with George.
In 1872.
You're right. So keeping on with the format of Jason's speech, you all know George, shop foreman, celebrating 30 years of service. 30 years, that's longer than I've been alive. And I'm going to keep pointing that out until I turn 30.
A little louder.
Oh, sorry. George is old, and he's been with UHAL a long time. Longer than I've been alive. And I actually often tell the new hires that George has been with UHAL since we rented out dinosaurs. So just as HR did for Jason, I had them pull George's transcript, and I had to order a lot more paper. It's really just a list of all the titles George has held in his remarkable tenure here, so let's take a peek at that. So, just as I and many of us, George started, he started as a part-time CSR just to pay the bills, but far longer ago than most of us. So his official hire date was May 16th, 1994. And this one says July 5th, 1994 is when
That's my service
date. And he was just a CSR. Less than a year later, in March of 1995, George became a U-Haul Moving Center General Manager, or as they were known back then, Center Commanders. Which I think is the coolest thing. I would.
Hey, George, so as a center commander, did you or did you not go to Phoenix to get your story?
Well, we were supposed to, I never made it.
Okay.
Probably just a little busy, as everybody who works for U-Haul knows how it goes. George spent 5 years as a center commander for SeaTac. And after that, he actually switched positions to be a marketing company executive assistant for Chuck Ivey, which is in its own pretty remarkable from what I hear about Chuck. A year later, George, his job title changed to senior manager, which is now what's known as an FRM. And then spent a few years doing that to where they actually changed his title to field relief manager. In August of 2005, George became a truck sales manager at 57 in Seattle when they were selling trucks out of there. He did that for about a year, and then he was back to being a center commander, but this time they called them general managers, and that was for 701049 in Renton. That's when the shop was there, right?
Yes, it was. Got to see some interesting stuff too.
Man. It looks like he was there for about 6 years, and then changed to a U-Haul assistant manager. I think he had some, was it health issues at that time?
Yeah, that was after 43, yes.
Let's see here. Then in 2013, George became a U-Haul Center manager again for 701066 in Burien, where he was for a little over a year, and then he became a U-Box CCR, or in the computer, that's what he was labeled as. He was actually the general manager for U-Box in Ferndale.
Right.
Even I can't read my chicken scratch.
That's cute, by the way.
There was a way to go.
January 5th, 2015, George became a transfer driver, finally making it to the shop after 20 years. One of his actual goals was to come to the shop. Contrary to popular belief, the shop is now where U-Haul employees go to die.
I was told.
Looks like just after 2 weeks as a transfer driver, George actually became a preventative maintenance tech, finally working on the trucks that he had rented out for so many years. Then in December in that same year, George became the preventative maintenance tech lead, the line lead. And it was not even a year after that, they became a mechanical express specialist. And about a year after that, became a lead person at the shop, but they had deleted lead and then brought it back. So when you were at me, you were still the lead.
Yeah.
And then in 2017, became a brake and tire specialist. He just did all of the brakes in the shop. That's what I'm told. And then a few months after that, back to preventive maintenance tech. In December of 2017, George actually became the repair dispatch specialist for Bill Griffin, who most of us know as Papa Bear. and then also helped open 186091 by himself, doing about 200 PDIs and 200 auction trucks a year, which is remarkable. That's pretty incredible. And where you spent 2 years? About 2 years.
Yeah.
About 2 years. In 2019, he was back to 186, doing everything. You guessed it. In 2021, in July 2021, was labeled as a post-inspection specialist, doing finals. And March 7th, 2022, just before I became shop manager, he was a pre-inspection specialist. September 15th, 2022, George became the shop foreman, my right-hand man, and helped me and all you guys to help get 186 to its full potential. And not long after that, actually became a master trained technician for UHAL. That's what that looks like together. So I do have a little bit more here for George. So as you can tell from that list, George has worn a few hats here at UHAL. There's actually a few hats he hasn't worn, but it's exactly this blend of experience that's turned George into the do-it-yourselfer that he is today. When I first got to the shop in April of 2022, and due to several reasons both in and outside the shop, it just wasn't running well. But George was there. Like a light in the dark and a beacon of hope for this shop, George was doing it all. Pre's, finals, quick fixes, training new hires, teaching me. I immediately knew that George was a company man, and we've all heard the term bleached orange. I mean, I said it earlier. And I heard it several times, but I wasn't sure exactly what it meant until I saw George in action. And I fully knew the meaning of the term after that. In fact, this man has so much orange in his blood that I'm 99% sure that's what's caused his heart attack. All jokes aside, having him become my foreman in September of that year was one of the best decisions that I've ever made as shop manager. Apart from the hard work and dedication from all of you guys, I solely believe that George is one of the leading factors that contribute to this shop's success day in and day out. As many things as George is, I have to say he is secretly one of the funniest people I know. I debated if I was going to include this or not, and completely out of context one day, George said one day, or someone said to George, I mean, name someone who's around 60, has a better job than me, and is far more attractive. Without skipping a beat or saying a damn word, George simply motions to himself. And I still laugh every time I think about it. With a history in UHAL like his, of course George has a knack for leadership. I think in a lot of ways George has helped me become a better leader, all while using his skills to teach the younger team members about UHAL, repair, and mechanics in general. And of course George has made one hell of a splash in his long time with our company, but it's team members like George, with his fun-loving demeanor, humor, and the get-it-done attitude that make UHAL such a great place to work. George has told me many stories about his time outside of the shop, working for UHAL as a GM, among the other million roles I just told you about, where he had to start early and work late to make sure that everything got done as it needed to. This, of course, means sacrifices. As we all make for our jobs and careers, over the span of 30 years, I can only imagine that he's sacrificed a little more than the rest of us in his pursuit of excellence. As his loving wife Linda would say, George will probably be late to his own funeral because he'll be busy fixing one more truck. And speaking of Linda, I think she wanted to say a few words.
Nice to hear though. Hi, my name is Linda. I'm George's wife. And you can see my lovely friend. He's got 5 daughters, so we have a bunch of us here. There's four of them that showed up. Okay, I just wanted to talk about when he first started UHAL. We were in, it was the first of, no, it was in the 90s. He tried to get hired on with UHAL. Well, the guy that was taking the interview said, to him, George, I don't think you're U-Haul material. So he just kind of put his head down and went on. Okay, about a year later, he came back to rent a truck. And it was at 12th and L. I don't know if anybody knows 12th and L. Well, that's where he went and rented a truck. And the manager there said, by any chance, do you know anybody that needs a job? Well, she said, I do. He goes, well, I'll hire you today. He goes, well, I'm sorry, but I've already gone through this and they said that I wasn't material. He goes, oh, I'll hire you today. So yeah, after that, you can see George has been with U-Haul for the last 30 years. Well, where's that guy? You know?
We never go find him. He disappeared.
You had nothing to do with that, right?
I'm not telling.
Anyway, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the family. Lost track. Okay, his grandkid, okay, this one here was 4 years old, and they were living with us. Two. No, he was about 4. And he was out in the yard, and I'm saying, what are you doing? He's breaking his toy. And he says, it's okay, Papa fix it. And George would come home from work, and about 8 o'clock at night, he wouldn't eat until his pop come home, and they put TV trays out, and he'd sit right by his grandma, and they would eat together and talk. That's the time and you can see he still spends time with his grandfather, so that's pretty cool. And there's one last thing I wanted to say here. The grandkids all wanted me to do a little thing they had made up about their grandpa, and it goes like this. George, all the U-Haul. Watch out for that truck.
Well, thank you for the insights into the beginning phase. I don't know about you guys, but George screams U-Haul material, so you're right. I don't know where that guy is, but I know where this guy is. I'm glad he's standing right next to me. So as I've said before, 30 years is a long time, a monumental achievement to say the least. And I know you've said to me maybe a few times that you have 11 or so years left before you retire. Before you retire. But whether it be 11 years or 11 days, I'm glad you're on my team. And I'm grateful for all the hard work that you've contributed so far and the hard work that you continue to put in. So without further ado, please everybody join me in congratulating George Loper on 30 So, they sent George a plaque too, and they didn't send him a check.
Boy, that check got small. There's always one in the book.
Well, George, did you want to say anything? You've been here for a long time.
All I could say is everything I did for my family, and you all are a part of that. That's all I could say.
We love you, George.
I'm gonna add one thing, just one thing, before you can go sit down. I've only known you for, a little over a year now, year and a half. I could tell you, like, I'm really big on personalities and energy and attitude. The one thing I'd say about George is you're not U-Haul material. You know, I think U-Haul is the material of George. And that's a little different because, you make you. I don't know if you've ever worked a day in your life because you love what you do. And it's evident in the energy and the way he talks, he communicates. He's a pleasure to be around. He's truly supportive. And he truly cares, you know. I hope I get another 30 years. I don't know if I will, you know. But I can't thank you enough. Not for the 30 years, but for you just being you. Appreciate it.
All right. Did anybody have anything they wanted to add about George or Jason before we all go our separate? Papa Bear.
Well, I'll tell you about George. But, I was a rookie when George first come to work here. I've only been here 5 years now. And so George and I worked arm in arm in lots of different locations. We were GM together, and certainly worked in the shop together. And he's been a personal friend of mine ever since day one that we've met. Even got some of his chickens that him and Linda gave me. So George has always been a great guy to work with. He's always been a get it done sort of guy. There's not enough paper in here because back in our day when we first started I was here 35 years and George started 30 years ago. This paper doesn't include the undercover work that he was involved in with us. And I certainly am not gonna dare and put it out now. It's kind of like the CS, what do you call those guys, the Secret Service?
Facts.
Yeah, I can't tell you about that stuff. It's something you have to be born into. But, like that.
They know you're talking.
I'll get rid of it in a minute.
It's a bullshit detector.
Anyway, I'll put it in my back pocket, maybe it won't ring so loud. Anyway, George and I have worked together lots and lots of years, and I just left 2 years ago. I hope he's not as foolish as I am, worked till I was 81. But I enjoyed the 81 years, and there's lots of people in here. I hired some of you, and I've worked with lots of you over the years, and you were all a blessing. And it's obvious to me if you've been here 30 years, and some of you have been here 20, like our friend Jason. Seems like yesterday Jason just walked in, and 20 years ago I couldn't believe it. He's got a beautiful wife, family, and all that stuff. And it's just been a blessing to know George, especially the undercover work that he did with us. He never considered himself a mechanic. If he was in the field with his boss, Chuck Idy, and I, he was the undercover man doing whatever we asked him to do. He was always willing and capable of doing it. Some of us were a little bit better at it than he was. But he was being a nice guy, and we didn't give a damn. He thought he had to impress us, and he certainly did. Every maneuver we ever went on, it was productive. No matter what we did, it was productive. So again, along with a lot of the rest of you that are in here, I was with you for 35 years, and I miss you. I think it was a good place to work. I still think the best job in the world is being an area field manager. Always will. Hardest thing in the world is to be a shop manager. You're tied down, but if you got people like George to back you up, you know, you can stay home twice a year. That's what the new shop manager's got to look forward to. And if I can give a new shop manager, any young person, you all, any leadership, Chuck Idy used to say LGD, leadership, guidance, and direction. I would tell the new shop managers this: pay attention to these people, no matter what they do, whether they're clerks, brake inspectors, PSI, whatever you want to be, whatever they are. Needs to listen to these people. They've been here, they've done it. They know what goes down this line, what goes out that line. And don't always look out the window and try to quote as just something that has to be done. You gotta get the job done, that's what it amounts to. And if you listen to these people that are in this room, they know what it takes to do brakes. They know what it takes to get the throughput done. So listen to them. They've got a ton of information, and they'd love to share it with you. God bless you, buddy. I love you.
Thank you.
All right, everybody's got to shake Jason and George's hands before they leave.
Thank you, guys.
Jason, thank you guys. But you guys have a great weekend. Thank you.
Don't you got?
Yeah, now you've got some desserts too.